You're a failure, Dad. My son sneered, laughing at my dream to open a cafe. After retirement, 3 months later, with my cafe thriving, he begged for a job. Humiliated, broke, desperate. I looked into his eyes, saw his betrayal, and said one word. No. Elias's dream isn't just a cafe. It's a reckoning. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is where you are now. And I don't care what you think about my age. Elias Carter's voice cracked as he slammed the folder onto the kitchen table. Coffee sloshed from Jordan's mug, spreading a dark stain across the carefully organized business documents. Jordan stood frozen halfway through removing his jacket, briefcase still clutched in his left hand. Dad, what are you talking about? I want to open a cafe, Elias said, the words tumbling out before he could second-guess himself. I know it sounds crazy at my age, but I've been planning this for months. Look at these numbers. Weathered fingers trembled slightly as Elias spread papers across the scratched linoleum table. Profit projections, menu ideas, location scouting notes, everything he'd researched during those sleepless January nights. The folder's edges were worn from constant handling. Jordan's briefcase hit the floor with a dull thud. You've completely lost your mind in your old age. This is pure madness. Madness. Elias's voice rose an octave. I've been dreaming about this my whole life. I have the money. I have the plan. And I sure have the time. Dad, you're 68 years old. People your age should be playing golf, not starting businesses. Jordan picked up a financial projection sheet, scanning it with dismissive eyes. Where did you even get these ridiculous numbers? From real research, real banks, real estate agents. Elias snatched the paper back. I called them all this week. Everything checks out. The kitchen fell silent except for the refrigerator's persistent hum. Jordan's face shifted from confusion to something harder, more calculating. He pulled out a chair and sat down heavily. How much money are we talking about here? $150,000 for the loan. I'll put down $30,000 from my savings. Your savings? Jordan's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. Dad, that money needs to last you the rest of your life. What happens when this fantasy fails and you're broke? Elias felt heat rise in his chest. It won't fail. I've thought about every detail. Come on, let me show you the location. Against every instinct screaming in Jordan's head, he found himself following his father to the old Chevy. The drive through Ashbrook's winding neighborhoods took 12 minutes. They passed the elementary school where Jordan had played Little League, the corner market where Elias still bought his weekly groceries. The abandoned storefront sat between a laundromat and a tax prep office. Paint peeled from its wooden facade like sunburned skin. Windows reflected nothing but their own uncertain faces. This is it, Elias announced, pulling keys from his pocket. The realtor gave me these for the week. Jordan followed him through the narrow doorway. Inside, dust motes danced in afternoon light, streaming through cracked windows. The space smelled of disuse and broken dreams. Perfect size for 30 tables, Elias said, his voice echoing off bare walls. Kitchen space in the back, storage upstairs. I already talked to contractors about renovations. Jordan walked the perimeter, noting water stains on the ceiling, ancient outlets, flooring that would need complete replacement. Dad, this place is a disaster. You'd spend your entire loan just making it habitable. Every business starts somewhere. Ray Kroc didn't begin with a palace. Ray Kroc wasn't almost 70 when he started. Jordan's patience snapped. This isn't some romantic movie where the elderly dreamer succeeds against all odds. This is real life where restaurants fail every day. Elias's hands clenched into fists. So, I should just give up? Sit in my recliner waiting to die. You should be practical. Think about your future. Think about Mom. What happens to Clara's memory when you blow through everything we've worked to preserve? The mention of Clara hit like a physical blow. Elias's wife had passed 3 years ago, leaving behind a house full of memories and a husband who'd forgotten how to dream. Until now. Don't you dare bring your mother into this, Elias whispered. She would have supported me. She always did. Mom was practical. She would have talked sense into you. Jordan gestured wildly at the deteriorating space. This isn't a business plan. It's a disastrous gamble for our family's financial security. They drove back in toxic silence. Jordan's knuckles were white on the steering wheel as he turned into his father's driveway. The engine ticked as it cooled, marking time like a countdown to explosion. Dad, I'm saying this because I love you. Forget this cafe nonsense. Enjoy your retirement. Travel. Take up fishing. Do something appropriate for your age. Appropriate for my age? Elias's voice was barely audible. You mean wait quietly until I'm dead so you can inherit what's left? That's not what I meant, and you know it. Is it? Elias turned in his seat, studying his son's face. You're a failure. You'll never succeed. Don't you dare waste my entire inheritance on some stupid cafe. The words hung between them like a blade. Jordan's mouth opened, then closed. His face flushed red, then pale. Get out of my house, Elias said quietly. And don't come back until you apologize. Dad, Get out. Jordan sat a moment longer, then opened the car door. He walked slowly to his own vehicle, never looking back. Elias watched from his kitchen window as tail lights disappeared into the gathering January dusk. The business plan lay scattered across his table, coffee-stained but intact. Dreams, it seemed, were more resilient than family relationships. The sound of Jordan's engine faded into the distance. Elias closed the door and turned the deadbolt with more force than necessary. His hand remained on the cool metal for several heartbeats. He gathered the scattered papers from the kitchen table, smoothing each coffee-stained page with careful fingers. Every number, every projection represented hours of research and planning. Jordan's dismissal couldn't erase the work that had gone into this dream. The living room felt cavernous as Elias settled into his worn leather recliner. The chair had been Clara's choice 20 years ago, selected for comfort during his long days at the auto parts plant. Now it cradled him like an old friend while he reached for the photo albums stacked on the side table. Faded pictures told stories he'd almost forgotten. There he was at 25, wearing a white apron in the Ashbrook Community College culinary program. Clara stood beside him, radiant and pregnant with Jordan, her hand resting on her rounded belly. That was 1983, the year everything changed. He'd been 2 semesters away from graduating when Clara's morning sickness turned severe. The doctor bills piled up while her part-time job became impossible. Someone had to provide stability, and that someone was Elias. I'll go back to school later, he'd promised Clara as he took the factory job. After the baby comes, after we get settled. Later never came. There were diapers to buy, a house to afford, college funds to start. Dreams of opening his own restaurant got packed away like seasonal decorations, brought out occasionally, but never used. 43 years at the factory. 43 years of precision machinery and scheduled breaks and steady paychecks that built the life Jordan now wanted to protect. Every sacrifice had been worth it, or so Elias had told himself. The album slipped from his fingers as sleep finally claimed him. He woke at 6:15 a.m. to birds chattering outside his bedroom window. January sunlight streamed through curtains Clara had sewn herself, casting familiar shadows across hardwood floors. Coffee percolated while Elias showered and dressed in clean jeans and his favorite flannel shirt. The morning routine felt different somehow, charged with possibility instead of mere habit. Today would be about action, not dreams deferred. He pulled the phone book from the kitchen drawer and spread it beside his cooling breakfast. Ashbrook Community Bank appeared first on his list, followed by 3 other local institutions, the Small Business Administration office downtown, and 2 real estate companies that specialized in commercial properties. Good morning, Ashbrook Community Bank. This is Lena speaking. Hello, Lena. My name is Elias Carter. I'd like to schedule an appointment to discuss a business loan. Certainly, Mr. Carter. What type of business are you looking to start? A cafe. American comfort food with some Mexican influences. I have a complete business plan ready for review. Lena's keyboard clicked softly in the background. I have an opening next Thursday morning at 9:30 with our commercial lending officer, Ms. Wells. Would that work for you? Perfect. Elias wrote the appointment in his calendar with steady handwriting. What documentation should I bring? The conversation lasted 15 minutes. Tax returns from the last 3 years, bank statements, credit reports, detailed financial projections. Elias took notes in the margins of his business plan, creating a checklist for success. The second call went to the Small Business Administration. A recorded message provided information about loan guarantees, startup assistance programs, and free counseling services. Elias wrote down 3 phone numbers and 2 website addresses. Real estate came next. The agent who'd given him keys to the Ashbrook Avenue property answered on the first ring. Mr. Grant, this is Elias Carter. We looked at the cafe space yesterday. Of course. Have you decided to move forward? I'm working on financing. Can you send me the complete property details and recent comparable sales in that area? I'll email everything this afternoon. The owner is motivated to sell, especially to someone with serious restaurant experience. Elias didn't correct the assumption about his experience. 43 years of factory work had taught him about deadlines, quality control, and customer satisfaction. Those skills would translate. By noon, his notebook contained a timeline stretching from January through August. Loan approval by early February, property purchase by mid-February, renovations through May, staff hiring in June, grand opening in August. Each milestone had specific tasks and deadlines. The plan felt real now, substantial. Not a retirement fantasy, but a legitimate business venture with measurable goals and realistic projections. Jordan's words echoed in his memory, but they carried less sting in daylight. "I'll show you, son, who the real failure is here," Elias murmured, closing the notebook. He walked to his bedroom and opened the closet Clara had organized so carefully. His best suit hung in protective plastic, navy blue with barely visible pinstripes. It had been purchased for Jordan's college graduation and worn to Clara's funeral. Now it would serve a happier purpose. The suit fit better than expected. 3 years of grief had stolen 15 pounds from his frame, but proper tailoring still showed beneath the looser cut. He adjusted the tie in the bathroom mirror, practicing the confident smile he'd wear to the bank. "Elias Carter, entrepreneur," he said to his reflection. The title felt foreign, but not impossible. Thursday morning couldn't come fast enough. But first, he had 3 more days of preparation. 3 more days to ensure nothing could derail his late-blooming dream. 5 days of solitary work had established a routine. Elias arrived each morning with coffee and cleaning supplies, lost in the rhythm of reclaiming his space. Measuring tape stretched across the floor marked future table arrangements, while dust cloths revealed original wood grain beneath years of neglect. He was kneeling beside the front window, scraping old paint from the frame, when familiar footsteps approached on the sidewalk outside. Elias looked up through the glass to see Jordan's silhouette, shoulders rigid with anger even from a distance. The front door banged open without ceremony. "Dad, you've lost your mind. Cancel this deal." Jordan stood in the doorway wearing his business suit like armor, briefcase clutched in white knuckles. His face carried the same fury from their January argument, but amplified by betrayal and disbelief. "Hello, son." Elias rose slowly, joints protesting after hours on concrete floors. "I wasn't expecting you. I saw the bank statements on your kitchen counter. $89,000. You actually bought this disaster." Cleaning supplies scattered as Jordan kicked a bucket across the floor. Soapy water spread in dark patterns across concrete, reflecting overhead lights like broken promises. "This is my choice, son. You won't stop me." "Your choice?" Jordan's voice cracked with disbelief. "You've mortgaged your entire future on some fantasy. What happens when this fails? Where will you live when the bank takes the house?" Elias set down his scraper and faced his son directly. 5 days of productive work had strengthened his resolve, not weakened it. Every clean surface, every measured space proved the dream's validity. "I'm not failing. Look around. Real progress, real plans. This cafe will succeed." "Success?" Jordan gestured wildly at peeling paint and broken fixtures. "You're 68 years old trying to compete with established restaurants. You have no experience running the business. I have 43 years of work experience and more determination than most people half my age. Determination doesn't pay rent when customers don't come. Determination doesn't cover insurance when someone gets food poisoning." The harsh words echoed off bare walls, carrying weight that made both men pause. Jordan's breathing was rapid, almost panicked, while Elias remained steady despite the verbal assault. "You're scared," Elias said quietly. "Scared I might actually succeed without your permission. I'm scared you'll destroy everything Mom and you built together. This house, your savings, your security, all wasted on childish dreams. Don't bring your mother into this again." Elias's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. "Clara would have supported my happiness, not tried to control it." Jordan pulled out his phone and began dialing. "I'm calling Dr. Patel. Maybe he can talk sense into you about age-appropriate behavior." "Put that phone away. Someone needs to intervene before you ruin everything." Elias crossed the space between them in 3 quick steps, snatching the phone from Jordan's hand. His son's eyes widened with surprise at the sudden movement. "This conversation is over. Leave my property." "Your property?" Jordan laughed bitterly. This condemned building that's going to bankrupt you? My property that's going to prove every doubt you've ever had about me wrong. They stared at each other across a gulf that seemed to widen with each exchanged word. Jordan straightened his tie and picked up his briefcase with exaggerated dignity. You'll see what happens to your crazy plan. When this fantasy collapses, don't expect me to bail you out. I wouldn't dream of asking. Jordan walked to the door, then turned back for one final shot. Mom would be ashamed of what you've become. The words hit like physical blows, but Elias didn't flinch. Your mother would be proud. I finally found the courage to chase my dreams instead of just surviving. Car doors slammed outside. Engine noise faded into afternoon traffic. Elias stood alone again, surrounded by cleaning supplies and the echo of harsh words that couldn't diminish the solid reality of ownership. He picked up the scattered bucket and resumed scraping paint from window frames. Work, he'd learned, was the best antidote to family disappointment. Tomorrow would bring contractors and permits. Success would be his best argument. The next morning, Elias arrived at the cafe before sunrise, Jordan's threats echoing in his ears like a challenge he was determined to meet. Ashbrook City Hall opened at 8, and he planned to be first in line for permits that would transform his dream into legal reality. March 6th marked the beginning of controlled chaos. Permit applications spread across his kitchen table at home each evening, while construction dust coated his clothes each day. Progress became measurable in completed forms and cleared inspection checkpoints. Next window, please. The clerk at City Hall had processed dozens of applications that week, but none with Elias's methodical preparation. Every form was completed in careful handwriting, every supporting document organized in labeled folders. Food service license, business operation permit, health department approval, fire safety certification, signage permits. Elias handed over the packet he'd assembled over 3 research-heavy days. 2 weeks of bureaucratic navigation yielded a manila envelope thick with approved documentation. Each stamp and signature brought opening day closer to reality, while proving to skeptics that preparation mattered more than age. Contractors arrived the following Monday. Frank Ramirez had renovated a dozen restaurants in Ashbrook over 20 years, and his crew understood the specific requirements of commercial kitchens. Electrical needs upgrading for your equipment load, Frank explained, reviewing Elias's layout plans. Commercial refrigeration, gas lines for the grill, proper ventilation for health codes. Everything must be perfect. This is my dream. We'll make it perfect, Mr. Carter. Timeline looks realistic for your August opening. Daily supervision became Elias's new routine. He arrived each morning to unlock doors for work crews, then monitored progress with the attention to detail that 43 years in manufacturing had ingrained. Quality control mattered whether building machinery or building dreams. The space transformed gradually. New electrical panels supported commercial equipment, while updated plumbing handled multiple sink stations. Fresh paint and warm colors, deep reds and golden yellows, replaced decades of fading neutrals. Looking for work? A woman approached during the 3rd week while Elias swept construction debris from the newly installed flooring. She was in her mid-30s, professionally dressed, but with worry lines around her eyes. Actually, I'm hiring. Renee Porter. She extended her hand. I heard you're opening a restaurant. Elias Carter. Tell me about your experience. Renee's 8 years in food service showed in how she discussed menu timing, customer flow, and inventory management. More importantly, her motivation was crystal clear. I need this job. I have children to support. No pleading, just honest necessity, stated with dignity. When can you start training? The following week brought Devin Lee, 22 and fresh from culinary school, with enthusiasm that reminded Elias of his own youthful ambitions. I've always wanted to work in a real restaurant. Devin's energy filled the space as he described his formal training and eagerness to learn the practical side of food service. By month's end, equipment installation was complete. Commercial refrigerators hummed efficiently, while the 6-burner gas range awaited its first orders. Dining room tables and chairs arrived from a restaurant supply company, transforming the space from construction site to actual cafe. Menu development sessions filled evening hours. Elias's vision of comfort food with Mexican influences took shape through collaboration with Devin's formal training and Renee's practical experience. Chili verde enchiladas with cornbread, Devin suggested, reviewing their prototype recipes. Classic meatloaf with cilantro mashed potatoes. Familiar flavors with unexpected touches, Renee added. Pricing needs to work for families. Ashbrook isn't Manhattan. People want quality they can afford. Elias stood in the transformed space on March 31st, surrounded by his small team and months of accumulated progress. The opening day schedule on their newly installed whiteboard showed April 15th as the target date. Everything was ready, except the customers. Opening day arrived with the same spring sunshine that had blessed every preparation day before it. By 7 a.m., Elias's dream stood ready for its first customers. Fresh flowers bloomed in window boxes while the aroma of Devon's experimental breakfast pastries drifted through spotless dining rooms. He checked the coffee machine for the 20th time that morning. Every detail had to be perfect. Gleaming counter surfaces, properly aligned salt shakers, menus positioned at precise angles on each table. Renee arrived in her new uniform, face bright with professional excitement, despite the underlying worry Elias recognized in her eyes. "Everything looks incredible, Mr. Carter." She tied her apron with practiced efficiency. "First days are always challenging, but we're ready." Devon emerged from the kitchen carrying a tray of sample breakfast items. His enthusiasm was infectious even at this early hour. Steam rose from fresh biscuits and perfectly scrambled eggs, while bacon strips lay in neat rows like soldiers prepared for battle. "Tomorrow will be different, you'll see," he announced, though Elias hadn't expressed any doubts aloud. But 8 o'clock came and went. No one entered. Renee wiped counters that didn't need cleaning, while Devon rearranged food displays already perfect. Elias stood at the front window, watching pedestrians pass, without glancing at their carefully designed signage. "Maybe they don't know we're open yet," Renee suggested, though her voice carried less conviction than her words. 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, nothing. The lunch crowd brought the same result. Plates of steaming food stood under heat lamps untouched. The pristine dining room mocked their preparations with perfect emptiness. "Maybe Jordan was right," Elias said quietly. "Don't say that," Renee snapped. "Every new business takes time. Rome wasn't built in a day." But Rome's builders probably had customers, Elias thought bitterly. Then at 2 p.m. the phone rang. "Buford's Dream. How can I help you?" A flustered voice on the line. "Mr. Carter, I am so sorry. This is Talia Ng from the marketing team. I misprinted the soft opening date in all the promotional materials. It said April 16th instead of April 15th. Everyone thinks the launch is tomorrow." Relief flooded through Elias like a dam breaking. Nothing was wrong with their concept, their food, or their location. A simple printing error had cost them a day, but not the future. The next morning, customers poured in. Word had spread. They came in pairs, families, office groups. Some apologized for missing the real opening. Others praised the decor, the food, the service. By noon, they had a waiting list. "We need more staff," Renee whispered. "We need more everything," Elias replied, watching Devon handle the grill with the calm of a seasoned chef. The day's receipts covered expenses and showed a modest profit. More importantly, customer comments made it clear they would be back. 18 days later, Buford's Dream, renamed Carter's Corner by popular demand, had become a neighborhood staple. And then Jordan walked in. Worn clothes. Hollow eyes. A coffee order. An awkward pause. "Dad," he said softly. "I need help." Elias looked at his son. Saw the desperation. The humbling of a man who had once threatened legal action to shut him down. "Any job. Anything. Even washing dishes." Elias stared. "You called me a failure. You tried to take everything. And I lost everything trying." The silence stretched. "I'm not angry," Elias finally said. "But I'm not hiring either." Jordan stood slowly. Nodded. "I understand." He turned and walked out, this time with the weight of true loss in his step. Elias watched him go. Not with triumph, but with peace. His dream hadn't just built a business. It had built clarity, strength, and something Jordan could never take. If you liked this story, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. To listen to the next story, click the box on the left. Thanks for watching True Family Revenge Stories.